January is here, and that means only one thing, and that is transfers. And we all know, as Tottenham fans, we need some transfers. The squad has been decimated by injury, and we're having to use Archie Gray to basically cover every position on the field. So today on the Sonny Talk Spurs YouTube channel, I'm going to be picking up some of the January transfer rumours, talking about them and seeing if they make sense to sign for Spurs. But if you're new to the Sonny Talk Spurs YouTube channel, then drop us a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell and leave your comments down below. Should we sign these players or should we sign someone else? Happy New Year, guys. This is my first video in 2025 and, you know, we want to get to 10,000 subs this year. So get down below, as I said, drop your subscribes and leave your recommendations for transfers, because I want to know who you want me to talk about on episodes. I'm going to try and do these regularly when there's a good few transfers to talk about, or if there's a really big signing who's linked with us, I'll do a big deep dive into them as well. But today, there's a few names circulating. You've probably seen some of the faces on the thumbnail as well. And as you could probably understand, it's a bit of a weird situation for Spurs with the injuries and with some names linked. But there's not a lot of solid info. I mean, we're only, you know, in the first week of January, so it is understandable. And probably as the month goes on, we'll get more links and maybe make some more permanent signings, a few loan signings, maybe some outgoings as well. But without further ado, let's start with our first transfer. And it's none other than Patrick Dorgu, been linked for a while to Spurs, and the latest tweets are saying Tottenham are keen on signing left back Patrick Dorgu. Lecce want more than the 15 million euros they requested in the summer to sell and are demanding he is loaned back until the end of the season to sanction his sale too. Now, we really need left-back cover. Now, this is the issue. You know, Destiny Udogie seems like he's going to be out for a few weeks. We've got Jed Spence, who can sort of fill in at both fullback spots. But, you know, Tottenham are looking for those versatile defenders who can play across the back line, pacey. I mean, the idea is, I assume this is a deal, you know, brokered by Fabio Paratici. And a lot of these signings that he has done, they've been loaned back until the end of the season. It would make sense in normal circumstances if we had our full, you know, roster of players. But with the injuries we've got at the moment, it makes more sense to really, you know, keep Dorgu at the club and have him as an option. I understand Lecce don't want to get rid of him that soon, and, you know, loaning him back means he's more guaranteed a lot of game time, but he would get game time here. You know, we're still in most competitions, so I would be all for this. I've been for this transfer for a while, but on these terms, I'm not so sure. And the next transfer is Lens centre-half Abdukodir Khusanov. I mean, I've probably butchered that, but the latest tweets are saying he is thought to be a target for Tottenham, according to Dan Kilpatrick. This one's been rumoured for a while, and, you know, it makes a lot of sense. You know, as we all are aware, we're lacking a lot in the centre-back department. I think there's a few clubs who really want the defender. But again, it's one of those ones where it's, you know, they'll want a big fee, Lens, and Lens are a good club, and they would demand it. So I wouldn't even wouldn't begrudge them for wanting that, and especially with a lot of people who want the young defender. The problem we have is we're now really lacking in that centre-back department, as we know. You know, Mickey van der Ven's out, Romero's out, Ben Davies is out, Dragusin has, you know, struggled in that position. Archie Gray, you know, has done well, but it's not his natural position. We've got Luka Vuskovic coming in the summer, who looks fantastic, by the way. I can't wait to see him put on the lily white strip. But we've got Alfie Dorrington, who's not really backed by Ange yet, which, you know, he sort of said that in a few interviews.
How did Radek Dragusin get on? Because he obviously was a major doubt, and how much of a risk was it to play him? Because it feels like maybe it might be.
Well, we had no choice. I mean, if Radek doesn't play, I don't know who plays. So, you know, and he wasn't 100%, but he felt, you know, he could get through with his ankle. And, you know, again, I think, look, the players are all giving everything they can at the moment. It's just, unfortunately, we can't, you know, like I said, give them what they really need, and that is some recovery and rest, because we've got so many players out. But, you know, Radek wanted to play today, and, you know, while he wasn't 100%, we had no choice to put him out there.
And then we have Ashley Phillips as well, who's on loan, but again, not really backed by Ange Postecoglou. So it's a tricky situation. I'm not sure about this one. Again, like Lecce, I think Lens would really ideally want to keep hold of the defender until, the summer. The January transfer window is a mess, isn't it? Anyway, we, don't see a lot of big moves. Sometimes, it's sort of a panic station, and it seems very much like that's what Spurs are going to be doing because we have got such a thin squad at the moment. Now, this next one shocked me when I heard it because it is Sam Johnstone linked with a move from Wolves to Tottenham. Tweet read, Tottenham are considering a move for Sam Johnstone, who could leave Wolves in the transfer window. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Fraser Forster. Obviously, we are missing Fikayo. I mean, everyone I'm talking about here is such an injury-plagued squad, isn't it? But both of them are bad with their feet. Jose Sarr is keeping Sam Johnstone out of the Wolves squad at the moment. Sam Johnstone, I think he's 31 years old. I don't see it. I don't see it as a really viable option. If it happens, I mean, you look at homegrown quota, maybe a backup or whatever. But we've got 3 English keepers. What's the point? I think this one is pointless. I don't want to spend too much talking about it unless we bloody do it, which I'm sure I'll do another video on. But I think this one is utterly bonkers. Shocks when I saw it, but I could imagine it's one of those ones where Tottenham have got a list of goalkeepers and he just happens to be on the list. Viable option. I was going to say young. He's not young, but second option at a club, bring him in, stopgap sort of thing, and give Fraser Forster a bit of respite. But I'd rather see Brandon Austin. Brandon Austin was played in pre-season in a few games. Why not give him a go? He's good with his feet. Maybe not the best shot stopper, but surely an option to rotate with Fraser Forster sometimes. A transfer that I still think is highly unrealistic, but doesn't seem to be going away, is Jack Grealish. And the latest on that is believed that any interest from Tottenham in Jack Grealish would be contingent on Manchester City being willing to pay a good portion of his wages, rumoured to be around £300,000 per week, as part of a loan agreement. Newcastle United have also been linked to Grealish and would fall into the same category in terms of their interest. Again, what's the point of loaning Grealish? He didn't score a goal in 2024. Let that sink in. I know a lot of City fans that I know, such as Kieran Carlin, applaud him and think that in the treble season that he did enough to warrant that £100 million fee. But I think he's been a flop at Manchester City. I really think he's struggled. Pep sucked the life out of him in the terms of what he was as a winger. Could he do a job at Spurs? I'm not so sure. And we've got an ageing left winger in Son anyway, so what would be the point of picking up Grealish? I'm not a big fan of it. I don't really want it anymore. I mean, I think on a video the other week I said potentially, but now I just think for the wages, for the it's just pointless. Really don't like the idea of it. So Grealish, wanted no more. Now this is a transfer which really pricked my attention. Fikayo Tomori from AC Milan. Now, older than I thought he was. He's 27 now. Not as young as he used to be, but maybe he is a viable option. Comfortable on the ball, good at playing out. Versatile, strong, quick. And the latest tweet on this was Tottenham have internally discussed possibly signing AC Milan defender Fikayo Tomori during the transfer window. Spurs head coach Ange Postecoglou wants a new centre back this month. I mean, yeah, as I said, with the other centre-backs I've mentioned, I think it makes a lot of sense to get one in this transfer window with, maybe not a lot of transfer centre-backs really, at the club now. And Tomori makes sense. I mean, apparently there's a few clubs in for him as well. I think seems like Newcastle want every player we're going for. I think Chelsea were rumoured as well. So I like the idea of this. I think it makes sense. Depends on the fee because he does start at AC Milan. And obviously Tammy Abraham's there now, who's a friend from Chelsea. So, good for English, quota. So I like it. But what would the makeup of Spurs' defence be when Mickey van der Ven and Romero are back? Maybe Romero might be off. And this is his replacement, which would be quite interesting. And another defender who we've been linked to, who I actually did a video on about a year ago, which is quite interesting, was Itakura. And obviously, the Borussia Dortmund centre-back is a name that has been floated as a defender they might pursue. As I say, I did a video on this a year ago, and he's popped back up. I think Ange wanted him at Celtic originally. Obviously, a big fan of signing Japanese players, Ange, because he worked in Japan. But again, this one, I think it's paper talk. I'm going to dismiss this one straight away. Don't think this one will happen. And finally, I'm not sure why I'm mentioning this one, but he has been linked, and I don't think it's going to happen. And it's Dani Olmo from, well, I was going to say Barcelona, but from the free agent pool, it would seem. And if you've been living under a rock and you don't know the Dani Olmo situation at Barcelona, here's TalkSport to explain.
Listen, tell us about this story involving Dani Olmo and where we stand right now.
Yeah, you've done quite a good job of summing it up there, because it is quite a complex story. So I'll try and sort of break it down. But like you say, joined in the summer. Barca are slightly in breach of their sort of financial fair play rules, if you will, in Spain, which means they're not allowed to register players until they make certain savings or cutbacks or increase revenue. He missed the first 2 games of the season unregistered. They managed to register him, as you said, until the end of the year, him and Pau Victor, on a sort of, it's called Article 77 in the rules, where they were able to register him in place of an injured player who was Andreas Christensen at the time, but that only bought them time until the end of the year. So they then had, 3 or 4 months, was it, from August, to try and get within a position where they would be able to extend that registration until the end of the season. That deadline was last night, the 31st of December. So while everyone else was counting down for the new year, Barca was sort of counting down, trying to see if they could get Olmo through in time. It's not happened. La Liga have been, like you say, their statement's pretty clear for them. Dani Olmo is no longer registered. Barca sources at the club, people at the club are still saying, look, we're going to speak on January the 3rd. We still think we can get Dani Olmo registered. They've asked the Spanish Federation, so they've gone sort of above La Liga for a new registration or a new license for Dani Olmo and for Pau Victor. But that would be, I don't know if it's quite unprecedented, but there's a lot of recent precedent where that's not been given, where players can't be registered for the second time for the same club in the same season. It's a FIFA rule as well. So that seems unlikely. So it seems at the moment that Dani Olmo will not be able to play for Barca in the second half of the season, or Pau Victor, which opens up sort of a range of sort of options, whether he stays and doesn't play, whether he goes out on loan, whether he leaves for free, which he could do by exercising his clause. But it's important to add there that both the club and people close to Olmo, people close to his camp, have said, look, that's not intention. He's not going to exercise that clause and leave for free. So I guess if he isn't registered, then the options are to stay and not play, or to go out on loan. It's a remarkable situation, really. Barca have been pushing the limit in the last few seasons, really. There's been a lot of cases where they've released statements going back to 2021, the summer that Messi left, where Gerard Piqué took a wage cut so that Memphis Depay could get registered. Jordi Alba and Sergio Busquets did the same for Sergio Aguero to get registered. We had similar situations, obviously, with the Palancas, where they were selling the future television rights to sign Lewandowski, Rafinha, and they've been pushing it to the wire quite a few times, and now they finally come up Trump. Not the opposite of Trump, sorry.
And on Twitter, the latest tweets say that Tottenham Hotspur have made inquiries over signing attacker midfielder Dani Olmo this month, should FC Barcelona fail to register him, and the midfielder becomes a free agent during the January transfer window. So, I've seen Manchester City link. I think that's more of an obvious signing. But Dani Olmo would be amazing, wouldn't he, in that midfield role? Was fantastic for Spain at the Euros. Has been, was amazing at RB Leipzig beforehand. Has been all right for Barcelona in patches. But I feel like it's not going to happen, is it? It's sad because I'd love it to. But, too much. I bet his wages are astronomical. We won't pay the wages. We're never going to pay the wages of some of these players. But I like the idea of it, but quite highly unrealistic. But you're going to have to let me know in the comments down below. Who do you want us to sign in January? Or is there anyone in the summer you want us to get instead? Save up those pennies and hopefully splash the cash. But yeah, until next time, leave your likes, leave your comments as I say, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you guys pretty soon. Ciao.